Hey everyone, I am finally getting to my February wrap up. I kind of wanted to film this last week and put it up for you last week, but you know, sometimes I just don't feel like filming after work or before work, and I can't do it during work. I've also been doing a course for a food health safety test that I had to take today at the wee early hours of 10:30 this morning. So I've been up earlier than I'm used to. So I feel like my mood is not as chipper as I'd like it to be. Getting to the purposes of this video is to talk about the books that I read in February. A few things I want to point out beforehand. I wanted to do this for my January wrap-up and I forgot because I'm not used to it and I just did the usual format I do. I wanted to include page numbers because I could say I read 2 books but then I read 1,000 pages. You don't know. So for my wrap-ups, I am going to be including the total number of pages I read in a single month, including the pages I read for DNFs. I say that because I have a DNF in my list today. So for the month of February, I read a total of 1,568 pages. I read a total of 4 books in February, which includes my very, very first and only 5-star read of this year so far. So yes. The first book I read is The Conspiracy of Us by Maggie Hall. This was on my February TBR and I read it. Go me. I read this in about a day and a half. I think I started reading it at the tail end of January and finished it like February 1st or 2nd, the wee hours of some morning. I give this a 3 out of 5 stars. I think it was a very fun read. This is about a girl named Avery who kind of ends up on a whirlwind adventure from her home in the US to Paris and Turkey, and she discovers that she's part of this circle of family, that she's part of this family because from her father's side, which she has no idea who that is. And there's this prophecy and the family is like they run the world. I'm not speaking articulately today because I'm tired. It was a very fun adventure to read. I think this is like the first or second YA I've read this year. I would label this like a mystery thriller almost. I mean, her life is on the line. People want to kill her. She's trying to figure out with her bodyguard guy friend, trying to figure out the whole riddle of this prophecy. What does it mean? One of the telltale signs that she may be part of this prophecy is the fact that she's a female with purple eyes, like that purple blue eye color, like it's distinct, but she's been wearing contact lenses the entire time to make her eyes a different color. Go figure. How long can you wear contact lenses for in this world is what I want to know. I definitely will want to get to the sequel to this. I think the sequel's called The Map of Fates, which kind of continues on the adventure of figuring out the prophecy and what does it mean for the family and escaping certain people's authoritative stuff. I can't talk today. After that book, I got to A Taste of Bloodwine by Frida Warrington, which is my 5-star read because I am vampire trash. No, I say vampire trash, but I really do have taste when it comes to my vampire things. I don't love everything vampires for the sake of it being vampires. I really enjoyed this story and I am definitely going to get to the rest of the series. If I don't finish it this year, I'm going to be mad at myself to finish the other 3 books of the series. But the main character, Charlotte, is like me. In the beginning part of the story, you see a lot of her inner monologue, the things that she's thinking, and I get it. She has social anxiety, so she doesn't like going to parties, which I don't either, but there's that whole self-worth thing that I struggle with. Like, she feels like she's a bother to her family because she is the way she is, and I've had those thoughts in my head for the longest time growing up. She is 20 years old in this book, She's the middle sister of the three sisters. Her older sister's married already. Her younger sister's just coming into society, who's about 2 years younger than her, and she's the normal typical girl. But Charlotte is trying to do the whole society thing, like going to parties to meet people to marry. This takes place in the 1920s. So, for reference, just after World War I has ended, you know, her older brother has been in the war, so they've dealt with that. At one of her sister's parties, she doesn't meet him at the party per se, but he is introduced, and that is the main vampire guy, Carl. There's just something about him that Charlotte doesn't like. She gets a bad vibe from him, which is understandable. He's a vampire. Carl has an interesting relationship with his vampire maker, Christian, who believes himself to be like really close to God, like his version of God that created vampires for whatever reason. It's very religious in that sense of thinking. He really wants his children to be close to him, and Carl has like said, bye Felicia, basically, and doesn't want to get, you know, doesn't believe in God and doesn't believe in that, and wants to be on his own. And he's like, Christian, just leave me alone. And Christian is just like, you are mine. I really enjoyed the relationships in this book and the dynamic character growth. This is very much speculative fiction. The fact that it has the paranormal vampire aspects of it, but then there's whole of the questions of existence and being. Carl's just trying to figure out what it means to be a vampire, like what kills vampires permanently, because that can be a tricky question in this book. The vampire lore in this is a bit different from traditional vampire lore. I mean, you do suck blood, and daylight is not a problem in this book, which is kind of cool, but they don't sparkle, which is a plus. I never really got the whole daylight thing with some aspects. It doesn't make sense of why daylight would burn unless you bring the whole god aspect into it. In this world, it takes 3 vampires to create a new vampire, so one vampire can't just make a baby vampire on his own. And there is something called the Crystal Ring, which is sort of a realm, or kind of like a plane shift, if you want to think about it, of our world. So they shift into this other plane. It's still our world, but it's different, and they explore that more in the book, so I don't want to give too much away with it. There is a lot of drama in this book, and I'm not one for stupid drama, like the stupid pettiness of teenagers. I just don't give 2 shits for. But the drama in this book, it's like family drama. Like, this is the beginning parts of the book, but the younger sister is in love with Carl, like is just infatuated, and Charlotte gives no shits until she actually gets to know him a bit. But then Charlotte has a relationship with someone else, and so there's the whole cheating aspect. Even though some people aren't together, and it's just the relationship dynamics are strange. Not strange, just different, but just the drama of it all was fascinating. I was just reading it, and I was like, ooh, scandalous. Like, I really enjoyed that, even though it has to be done a certain way, I guess. I'm ranting and raving about this book because I really liked it, because it's got vampires and stuff, and I really like it. If you like vampire stories, please read this because it is good. I liked it a lot, and I'm picky about it. So I read a contemporary book this month. Go me. I don't read contemporary often, but it was been sitting on my shelf, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I read Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac by Gabrielle Zevin. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is about a girl who gets into an accident. She takes a tumble and she loses her memory of like the last 4 years of her life. So it goes about Naomi going through that journey of living life when so much of life has changed in the last 4 years. Like, her parents gotten divorced, and who her best friend is, and her boyfriend that she supposedly has. Like, she doesn't remember any of these things happening, and so she's got to navigate that, come to terms with a lot of the things that have happened. At the same time, trying to figure out who she is now with that absence of memory, coming to terms that she is a different person. She's not the same person she was. She doesn't have those memories, and going through that. There were certain aspects of this book that I didn't really like, that kind of bothered me a bit, which is what led me to not giving it like a higher rating. And that was like, she discovers her parents have gotten divorced because her mother had cheated on her father with an old high school sweetheart, and she just like straight up calls her mother a slut to her face. And I was just like, whoa. You respect your parents and you don't just call them sluts to their faces. Like, and the father was just like, well, yeah, that's, it just bothered me a lot. I can understand the situation of it, but just like straight up calling your mother a slut to her face when it doesn't seem in character really just was very off-putting for me. And Naomi does get away with a lot of shit, like manipulating people to doing things to get her way so she could do stuff. I don't know. Like I said, I enjoyed the progression of the character growth with what has happened to her. I also like the dysfunctional relationship she has with a boy in this book and his mental health and all of that. I really enjoyed that aspect of the story as well. As far as contemporaries go, I really enjoyed this a lot than I have other contemporary books. The last book I finished is The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Bedore. This isn't an Alice in Wonderland. I felt like I was drunk just. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling where Alice is actually the heir to the throne of Wonderland. Her mother was the Queen of Wonderland, and the Queen of Hearts, where in this book her name is Red, is her aunt. And so this book is all about her aunt taking over Wonderland and kind of casting Alice out of Wonderland by mistake. She really wants to kill Alice. But Alice finds her way into the real world as a child. She becomes Alice Liddell, the girl that the Alice in Wonderland is supposed to be based off of in real life. Like, the Lewis Carroll's in this book, and Alice has to deal with knowing who she is. She comes from Wonderland. She's the princess. She's Princess Alice. And I really liked the way the Alice is spelled in here. The way she spells it in Wonderland is ALYSS, which was pretty cool. But they, like, normal London is like, that's weird. You're spelling it this way. She spends a lot of time in the real world. She doesn't come back to Wonderland until she's almost a grown-up. And she's kind of forgotten Wonderland because everyone's told her that these are just stories she's making up in her head. Like, she left Wonderland when she was 7, I want to say, so like 7 or 8. But I think she's like 19 or 20 when she finally comes back to Wonderland. So this is about her taking back her kingdom and fighting, for what is hers and the people, and all the characters are really awesome. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was really fun read, and I'm definitely going to get to the other 2 books soon. I mean, it's not the best work of fiction, but it was really fun and I really enjoyed it. So those are all the books that I finished in the month of February. Now to the other things that I tried to read. I was just going to show you the sleeve because I didn't know what the book was. I tried reading The Fall by R.J. Pinheiro. I'm not DNFing in this right now. I'm just not reading it right now. I read about the first 30 pages and was just not into it. Not DNFing. I might get back to it in the next couple months. But I had the sleeve because I couldn't find where the book was, and I just looked over and there's the book. I got about 30 pages in and I just wasn't feeling the characters. Like, I just wasn't feeling it. but I'm not DNFing it. I'll get back to it eventually. Just wanted to know that. And I didn't include the 30 pages in my page count because I'm gonna read it in those, you know. Okay, let's talk about, if you've stayed with me for this long, thanks. But now we're gonna talk about Caravelle by Stephanie Garber. I DNF'd this after 130 pages and I don't feel bad about it. Okay, so I am reading this book and I'm seeing the potential for a lot of things. It has a lot of potential. It has, and you know, there's an abusive father in this. The main character, Scarlett, she, you know, is going to Caravelle and all that, and like things happen. I'm starting to get a little bored with it, and I had started reading it. I got about 100 pages in, and then I hadn't picked it up for a bit, and then going back to Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, I trust her reviews of a lot of things. The things that she doesn't like, I'm not gonna like either. She gave this book a 1 out of 5 stars, which means that the things that I was hoping for this book are not gonna happen. I so wanted to see Scarlett have a lot of character growth and coming to terms with standing up for herself and along those lines. And seeing Sam's review, and I've watched her full in-depth review, even the spoiler gripe that she put on, I know that I'm not going to like this book, and so I'm glad I DNF'd it. The characters they did seem very bland and one-dimensional. There's just one straight one-track mind, and it gets a little frustrating. The whole point of the Caravelle is a game where you get a wish. and that you're told that, you know, don't get swept away. All of this is a performance. You know, none of this is real. And Scarlett just treats everything like it's real. And it was starting to get a little bit ridiculous. She's trying to find her sister who she's got separated for when they go to the Caravelle. And she's got such a one-track mind that she just glosses over the clues that she's been given. She's trying to find her sister, but it ends up her sister is the object of the game. I don't have time for this book. If you want, go watch Sam's video. She's got a spoiler-free discussion about this book. I'm not going to give it any more of my time. Okay, I have been talking way too long about this. February is wrapped up. It is done. It is over with. I am ready for March. It is March. I am ready for the sun to come back in full force so that I can start feeling better, because January, February, March-ish is just shit for me, for my mental health, and I'm getting tired of it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment down below if you've read any of these books, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!